Hi, Dr. TJ Dixon here, connecting to your best life. Today's message is about healing our minds, which can lead to healing our bodies. Now, the information that I'm going to share with you today, understand that I am not making any diagnosis, nor am I a medical professional, nor am I attempting to make any assertions that any of the information that I'm sharing with you today should be taken without you discussing with your doctors what your physical ailments are and your mental ailments. The information I'm sharing today is simply beneficial, have been beneficial to me, and it's some techniques I have used to bring about remarkable results in my life and help my mind, body, and spirit heal. So with that being said, I want to talk to you about this information, and most of it I have received from a book as well as a technique that from a book that I'm currently reading that has made such a huge difference in my life. So the very first book I want to talk to you about is this one here, and this one is by Louise. It's called You Can Heal Your Life. With the author Louise Hay, she had an experience when she was in her 40s. She was diagnosed with cancer, and it was a cancer diagnosis. Basically, the doctors told her that she was terminal. She had but months to live, according to what her doctors told her. And Louise really wanted to live. So she began to seek out some alternative methods to help her at least live out her final days as well as she could. What she did was she changed her way of eating. She made sure she was actually giving her body nutrients and giving her body live food versus eating any sort of junk, processed, or dead foods. And she also spoke to someone who talked to her about what was going on inside of her mind, what was going on inside of her spirit. Who was it specifically that she had not forgiven? Where was it and who was it that she held some resentment towards? Now, Louise had somewhat of a rough upbringing, and she thought that she had worked through all of her feelings about what her upbringing was. But this person that was talking to her about her unforgiveness really emphasized that there had to be something, though. There had to be something else there that she still hadn't forgiven yet, that she still held resentments towards. Otherwise, her body should be able to heal itself from the cancer. So when Louise really stopped and she allowed herself to feel again, she uncovered that she had buried some unforgiveness, anger, and resentments towards the man who had molested her and raped her at age 14. So Louise ended up, once she released that out of her spirit, once she dealt with that, her body healed. And when she went back for her doctor's appointment, I believe it might have been about 3 months later. Don't quote me on that. You'll have to read the book. But her cancer was gone. They could not find her cancer. Her body had healed itself. She changed up her eating. She adopted a healthy lifestyle, and she had released this emotion that was buried in her about what had happened to her when she was such a young girl. So from there, Louise decided that she would write this book. She had also worked with a number of AIDS patients on the West Coast, working with quite a few men to help them also go through some healing and really deal with some of the things that they were thinking in their minds and how that was affecting their bodies. So in her book, You Can Heal Your Life, she has not only her story and some of the stories of the men that she worked with, but in the back of the book, she has a chart. You might not be able to see the chart so well, but she has a chart. And in this chart, let me turn to a page where it starts. The chart has 3 categories that this information is based upon. It is the problem that you may be having with your body or your mind, the probable cause, and under probable cause, in this category, it's about what you're likely thinking, and then what your new thought pattern ought to be. Now, I'll tell you a personal story from myself. Well, I had never heard of Louise Hay. And by the way, not only did Louise Hay heal from that cancer, she is now over 90 years old, and she is still running her company called Hay House. It is an amazing company. She has a number of wonderful authors that are part of her company. She holds this free summit every year where she has, I believe, about 90 to 100 speakers, and you can, if you sign up for it, you can listen to them talk about all sorts of topics. Their audio, it's audio interviews and speeches that they give to help us find out more information, so that we can really use that information to empower ourselves to bring about great strides in our lives, whether it's healing our bodies or maybe how we connect to spirit and that kind of thing. So it's a wonderful, wonderful company that she has. But back to what I was saying with the chart. And when I first discovered this book, I was at a women's retreat many years ago, and the facilitator at that retreat actually had a number of books that could help the women at the retreat really move forward with their lives, and this was one of them. And so the facilitator had turned to the problem that says lower back pain. And with lower back pain, I'll turn to the page that it is. The probable cause of that is fear of money, lack of financial support. And for me at that time, what I was fearing about money is fearing that I'd have too much money. Now, I know that sounds strange because most people want more money and more money and more money. But in the case of myself, I had feared having too much money because there was a person in my family who did not have very good relationships and went through a number of divorces and remarriages and had a number of children. And when he would go through a divorce and a remarriage, I would not see the children too often from the previous marriages. I was a little girl. So I was trying to understand what was going on and why this kept happening. And the only thing I could rationalize in my head was that this particular person had more money than the rest of the family. And so in my head, from there, I had a fear of having too much money because I never wanted to go through having my children separated from me or having such broken relationships with my kids that I wouldn't be able to see them. So from a little child, I developed this fear of having too much money. And from as long as I can remember, back when I was at a pretty young age, I always had lower back pain. I could stretch it out. I could do all these things, and I kept having this lower back pain. At this retreat, though, when the facilitator talked about this, and I looked at what the new thought pattern is, which is, I trust the process of life. All I need is always taken care of. I am safe. When I read that new thought pattern and I released that, I rarely ever have lower back pain anymore. I have to actually strain my lower back or, lift too much weights. Like if I work out at the gym and I lift too much weight on it, or I just fatigue it, that's about the only time I even get lower back pain anymore. And that's been years now. So I was like, whoa, there's something to this. And there's been a number of other ailments that are here in this book that I have dealt with from time to time over the years. And what I started to do is take the new thought pattern and put it on index cards. And that would be what I'd call my healing cards. And I would read it every day until the ailment went away. Obviously, I did go to doctors about whatever was going on with me, and I would take their advice. But I would also get the new thought pattern going, because every time that I would have a chronic ailment going on and I'd read the probable cause of it, I was always thinking about whatever the probable cause was. And when I would switch to the new thought pattern, over time, the ailment would be gone. And the doctors would say nothing more about it, and my body essentially healed. So I do believe that with Louise Hayes's book, and this chart that she has in here, it is definitely something that is useful. At least it's been useful for me. So I just thought I'd let you know about that book. Now, let me tell you about another healing methodology that I have learned about, and I've actually had performed on me. Here it is. It's called The Emotion Code. I am currently reading this book. It is by Dr. Bradley Nelson. He is the one who has come up with this particular healing methodology. And here it says how to release your trapped emotions for abundant health, love, and happiness. And with the emotion code, that's exactly what it deals with. It deals with the trapped emotions that we have and we hold inside of our bodies. With this particular methodology, again, had not heard of it, but I have here a Reiki practitioner that I go to. She's a Reiki master, and she's done a lot of energy work with me. And she uses the emotion code. And she had performed emotion code on me. And when she did, sorry, I lost my bookmark, I had to put it back in. When she did perform emotion code on me, I released so many trapped emotions, things that I didn't even know were there. But I just knew that when I started going to her and she was doing emotion code, it was during a period of time when I just felt so exhausted and I was fatigued a lot, to the point that it was a bit scary for me. This was when I was working as an accountant, and I had a job as a CFO. My job was very, very demanding. However, I was just so exhausted that I was really concerned with how could I keep up the pace. I went to her for energy work so that I could continue to do well on my job and do everything else that I needed to do in my life. And as she began to release the trapped emotions that was inside of me, that I was carrying, I started to feel better and better, and I would sustain my energy much longer, because it reminds me kind of like a computer. When you have all these trapped emotions inside of you, it's kind of like programs running in the background on your computer. It slows the thing down. And so as my trapped emotions were being released, I had more energy to put towards the job and put towards, the other things that I was doing in my life. So therefore, this was a very, very helpful healing methodology for me. And now that I'm reading about it, this particular book teaches a person how to perform the emotion code on themselves, as well as you may be able to even perform it on others. Again, you do want to talk to your doctor if you are dealing with any sort of health issues. And I did as well, and started taking vitamin D rather. I'm sorry. I had low vitamin D at the time, which was caused by stress from my job. But the emotion code and having the trapped emotions released also, again, helped my body significantly. One of the things that I really appreciated about the emotion code is there were things that were riding inside of me. This person talks about how sometimes the trapped emotions in us, they're not even from us. They get lodged in our bodies from the time we're in our mom's womb. And sometimes we're carrying our mother's emotions even inside our bodies. Sometimes it goes back even beyond that. Maybe it's from a grandmother, a great-grandmother. I even discovered a trapped emotion in me that was from who I love to call my ancient grandmother, because it went back so many generations, back into, I believe, the 1800s. And that trapped emotion was a huge one. It was one of the last ones that was removed from me, that dealt with a lot of just great anguish and great pain. And when I discussed this with the person who removed that emotion from me, it came up in me, and I realized that I was carrying the sorrow of a woman who had to deal with the transatlantic slave trade. And so, although that may sound very strange, because obviously I'm here in 2017 and I was not back at that time, but still that feeling of great anguish was still stuck in my body. And if you think about it, when we look at our DNA, or even when we talk to the doctors, what do the doctors always ask when you're filling out the paperwork? What runs in your family? Is there diabetes? Does cancer run in your family? Do you have, who in your family has high blood pressure? And they go through all these diseases that families carry these traits on. They go back generation to generation to generation. So, trapped emotions is the same kind of a thing. That is able to pass on to us, even from people that we have never physically met. And so all I can tell you is that when I went through the process of emotion code, I again felt so much better. And when that trapped emotion, and I will pick on that one particularly from my ancient grandmother, was finally released from me, not only, I was told by my Reiki master, not only had I healed, but I had also healed her anguish. And I was able to do it in a very spiritual way, since she obviously physically is no longer here. And ever since then, I have felt so wonderful, and I felt so much lighter. And honestly, I had held just a tinge of sadness in me, at running in the background of me at all times, ever since I could remember. But the day that trapped emotion was released, I have not had that running in my background anymore. So I just thought I would share with you all today two methodologies, healing methodologies that you may not have ever heard of, and they're actually alternative to the traditional medicine that we deal with. Again, nothing wrong with traditional medicine, and this is not to replace traditional medicine. But I do think that if this resonates with you, these two things may be something that could really help you live much happier, healthier, strong lives. Now, thank you so much for watching. And if you like what you've heard today, if you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button. YouTube really appreciates the more subscribers that we have, and I appreciate you for subscribing. And if you'd like to know more about the healing work I do, please check out my website at www.drtjdixon.com. If you have a comment or any questions, comment below. And again, as always for you, I hope for you to always have a great life, and may you live your best life.